God sent his people into captivity. They all over the place now. Notice he said the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. Again, I told you Jesus was totally in line with his people. He totally in line with his people. That's why when he came, how many disciples did he have? 12 disciples. He had 12 disciples just like it was 12 tribes. Now, that's where Israel is. Let's go to Romans 10 and let's see how they operating. Let's see how they operating since they didn't went into captivity and they scattered abroad. They destroyed. But we still here. God always said he was going to save some. And that's the good news. That's how we in line to be awakened. And we being awakened right now. We being awakened. That's why we here on a Saturday when, hey, everybody else doing something different. But we figured it out that, hey, this is what the Lord said in the Bible. He said the seventh day and he meant it. So we doing what he intended for us to do when you get awakened. That's turned back to what he said in the Bible. See, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. But now Romans 10, but this is the predicament as a whole. Israel scattered abroad, went into captivity, and here in Romans 10, Paul is preaching to the Romans, but he's still talking about Israel. That's for people who think Israel don't matter no more. Paul is talking about Israel to the Romans. Romans Gentiles now, that's Italians. He preaching to them because everybody got the opportunity to hear the word now. Everybody got the opportunity, but as he was preaching to the Romans, he had to teach to them about Israel. Go ahead, 10:1, go ahead.
Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved.
Go ahead.
For I bear them record that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge.
Now you see what he said? He preaching to the Romans. That's who the letters wrote to. Just like we saw James, he wrote his letter to the 12 tribes. We're talking about Israel, the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Paul, if you go back to Romans 1:1, you know where this letter is addressed to the Romans. So in the beginning, it don't say it at 1:1, but it say it later on, like at verse 15, about him ready to go to Rome. So that's why it's named Romans, because he was writing to the Romans. But at any rate, here, as he's preaching to the Romans, he's preaching to them about Israel. And what did he say? My heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved. Why? For I bear them record that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. That's the ongoing problem, is it? We don't know what God is saying and what he wants. We don't know nothing about God like we should. That's been our problem from day one, hasn't it? How do I know? Back in Hosea, he said, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. See, that's why we read in the Bible, so you can get some knowledge and know what God is saying. But he said, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Isaiah 5:13 said, my people are going into captivity because they have no knowledge. Now, right here, Paul is talking in the New Testament. He said, my prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved. He said, I'm still praying for my people because he was Israel. I'm still praying for Israel. Even though I'm preaching to y'all, I'm still praying for Israel that they might be saved. Because again, what's the problem with Israel? What's the title of the lesson? The lost sheep. We lost sheep, right? Wasn't Jesus fishing and going around looking for the lost sheep? So it is a problem. Don't make no mistake about it. Israel got a problem. That's why Jesus said, I'm only sent to the lost sheep of Israel. We got a problem. That's why Paul is saying, my prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved. Our main problem is we went against God. We knew how to please God and went the other way. And God punished you for that. And he's been punishing us severely. So Paul is praying. He said, read verse 1 again.
Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved.
For Israel. So Israel ain't done away with yet, has it? Paul's still talking about praying for them. But go ahead, verse 2. Let's see what their MO is now. We've been scattered out by this time. We scattered out, scattered abroad, went into captivity. Handful of them that was left ended up going into captivity in 70 AD when Jesus pronounced that before he died. But what's their MO now? Verse 2.
For I bear them record.
Bear who record? Israel, right?
That's right.
What did he bear record about them?
That they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge.
Oh, see, that's the way it is to this day, brothers and sisters. We got a zeal of God. That means we will guard you under the table. Oh, we can do some God. That's why we got more churches. Do you think it's an accident or a coincidence that this group of people got more churches than any other people? You can't even go in our neighborhood run down. You go on 59th Street in Chicago. You can go places in Gary too. But I'm just, you go on 59th Street in Chicago. Drive down 59th Street. Toe up. Church. Toe up. Church. Got a liquor store. Church. Liquor store. Church. All over the place. You know what that is? That's a zeal of God. We seeking God. But it's a problem. We won't do it according to knowledge. We won't do it the right way. God giving you good knowledge in the word of God, and we won't even read and accept it. Matter of fact, we say, oh, that's done away with. We don't need that. You think God going to bless you for that? No, God going to keep hurting you. You ignoring what God is saying. See, that's our problem. So to this day, verse 2, for I bear them record, talking about Israel, that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. So you're going to do it your way. You're going to do God your way, and that don't work with God, being that he's God and you not. That don't work for you either in the end. But now, let's go further. Go to Ezekiel 6, because this is our predicament. We went against God. We got lost. God scattered us out into captivity all over. And we still here, brothers and sisters, all over in these countries. We're not just in America. We all over the place. Don't even know who we are. And praising God and worshiping God more than anybody, but still won't get it right. But thank God he got awakening coming. See, we waking up slowly but surely now. Ezekiel 6. So we scattered abroad in a bad situation. We more lost than ever. But do you think that's something Jesus can't fix? Being that Jesus said he was on a direct mission to save the lost sheep of Israel. He said, I'm not sent to nobody else but the lost sheep. You think he done threw the towel in on it? Oh, forget Israel. That's why it's important to know who Israel is. And of course, most people here know if I say Israel, we talking about a black people that's cursed and scattered and enslaved. That's how you can identify them. That's the people that went off on slave ships into captivity. He said, my people are gone into captivity because they had no knowledge. See, we think this is unimportant, but this is what the Bible is telling us. But now go ahead to Ezekiel 6 and verse 8. Ezekiel 6 and 8. Because now we get into the awakening. We in captivity, praising God, but not doing what he wants. But he going to wake us up from here. Go ahead.
Yet will I leave a remnant, that ye may have some that shall escape the sword among the nations, when ye shall be scattered through the country.
See, this is the good news. See, that's why we still around. That's why he said in Malachi 3:6, he said, I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore, you sons of Jacob are not consumed. Even all the trouble and drama we done been through, we can't get annihilated or wiped out. He said, yet will I leave a remnant. That's a remainder. I'm going to leave some of y'all. I'm going to say, I'm going to hurt you bad. Then I'm going to leave some of y'all left because I'm going to fix it in the end. That ye may have some that shall escape the sword among the nations. That's what we at. We don't even know where home is. When ye shall be scattered through the countries. Didn't James write his letter to the 12 tribes scattered abroad? Well, we scattered through the countries to this day, but God said, I'm saving a remnant. I'm going to save some of y'all. Verse 9. And when you start to awaken, how it's going to look. Verse 9.
And they that escape of you shall remember me among the nations.
See, that's what's happening now. They that escape of you shall remember me among them. That means you had forgot about God. You don't even know about your God. We've been worshiping the gods that they give you. That's why we put a tree up in our house, which the Bible, Jeremiah 10, say, do not get a tree and decorate it and do that. And we do exactly that. And we think, well, we celebrating Jesus' birthday. How? First of all, they'll tell you that wasn't his birthday. Look it up. They said December 25th was not his birthday. It's not his birthday. We put a tree in our house. Why would you put a tree in your house for anybody's birthday anyway? You don't do it for your cousin. They be like, come on over on your birthday. I got a tree up for you. We're going to get your gifts from under the tree. Look, you don't know you worshiping a false God. That's a false God. It's in the Bible, brothers and sisters. Matter of fact, let's read it. We're going to take a quick break here. Go to Jeremiah 10. We're going to come back here. Because we ain't lying. We can read it. Jeremiah 10. Jeremiah 10. See, and that's the difference. Israel was chosen to know God and serve God the right way. And when we messed up, that made God mad. But he always talking to Israel. The whole Bible is talking to Israel. If we can understand that, we go a long way. The whole Bible I'm talking about. Even when it came to the Gentiles, it was Israel talking to them. That's why Paul was preaching to them. But go ahead, verse 10. 10 and 1, I'm sorry. Jeremiah 10 and verse 1. Go ahead.
Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel.
O house of Israel. Same people. I'm talking from Genesis to Revelation. Once the Lord started this thing with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and you go all the way to Revelation, the 12 gates of New Jerusalem got the 12 tribes of Israel on them. And you going to say Israel don't matter to God no more? And Jesus said, I'm only sent to them? Somebody missing the picture. He said, look, hear the word which the Lord speaketh to you, O house of Israel. He said he only known Israel. See, everybody else going to get to know God through Israel. But go ahead, verse 2.
Thus says the Lord.
This is what the Lord say. What?
Learn not the way of the heathen.
Heathen don't mean just some negative person. Really, heathen really mean just the other nations. That's all heathen mean. It don't really mean, you know, like on Fred Sanford, they used to use it. What's the name? You say, you heathen? Like it's really bad. Well, heathen just meant the nations that didn't know God. They didn't know. They were the other nations. Israel knew God. The other nations were called heathen. Learn not the way of the heathen, though. Go ahead.
And be not dismayed at the signs of the heaven. For the heathens are dismayed at them.
What they dismayed at what the sun and the moon, what's happening in the astrology. The signs of heaven. They dismayed at that. So they honor it by doing something. That's what Christmas is honoring. You don't know that. Christmas is honoring that the darkness is past. Now the day's going to get longer. That's what Christmas honoring. That's why you got the tree and don't know. That's why they got lights everywhere. They ain't talking about Jesus. But go ahead. We're going to see. He said, don't do it. Don't be dismayed at the signs of heaven. And then he said, don't learn their ways. But verse 3.
For the customs of the people are vain.
This is a vain custom, brothers and sisters. What is it?
For one cutteth a tree out of the forest. The work of the hands of the workmen. With the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not.
See, they take a tree. See, you say, well, we don't get it out the forest. That's because somebody done got it for you already. You go to the store and buy it. Or now they had these lots up there. Now you can even buy an artificial one. But back in the day, everybody, and still today, people get live ones, right? I remember people, my family, I'm going to get a tree. Come help me look for a tree. I like the live ones. And they got all kind of lots set up where you can go get you a tree. For what though? He said in verse 3, for the custom of the people are vain, for one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it. That's the same as decorating it, brothers and sisters. You're going to dress it up. You're going to put something on it. You put little stuff on it to this day. Put little goodies on it, put little silver trinkets and stuff like that. He said they deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and I know people still do it today. Somebody told me when they was doing it, their house was lean, and that's the way they had to nail it down. Now they can get a stand, and you can put it in. But in the old days, there wasn't no stand to put it in. You had to actually nail some wood down and make it stand up, because this been going on a long time. This ain't just happening in our days, in modern times, where you got a modern little stand to put it in. And somebody here told me that the stand wouldn't work for their house even recently. It wouldn't work for their house when they was doing it, because the house leaned. It's for real. I ain't lying. I'm gonna lie, Sister LaDonna. She told me they had to nail it just like it's saying here. She told me that. He said they deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers that it don't move, because other than that, it's going to fall over on you. But you're doing all this for a tree. But now we're going to get back to the lesson. Go to, where was we at? Got lost.
6.
Ezekiel 6. We're going to read it again, too. We're going to read, since we're going Isaiah 40, we're going to read that again since we're going to be right there. But Ezekiel 6. But I said all that to say, that's another God you worshiping. You don't know that's a little God that man gave you to worship. Ezekiel 6, and pick it up at verse 8 again. Go ahead.
Yet will I leave a remnant, that ye may have some that shall escape the sword among the nations, when ye shall be scattered through the country. And they that escape of you shall remember me among the nations.
See, we're going to remember the Lord. We're going to say, oh, okay, we really God's people. We are somebody for real. We are this people that's been lost. They're going to remember me among the nations. Whither what?
Whither they shall be carried captive.
Now, how you get here? See, some brothers, I've talked to brothers for years. They say, I ain't no slave. I ain't no... Look, your forefather came here on slave ship and you ain't went home. That make you a slave. That's why you got to complain when something go wrong. They don't treat me right. You know, they don't treat... That's right. That's what they do, slaves. You get the worst of everything. Even when it's good, you still going... You might get some good stuff, but you still going to get the least of the good. Because that's the way they do it. You still a slave. Even they had this celebration about the 50 years since Martin Luther King marched on Washington and all that. And when he gave the speech, the famous speech about I have a dream. But one thing he said in the speech was true. He said it's been 100 years. That was in 1963. It's been 100 years since the Negro was supposed to be free. And he said in that speech that he's not free yet. And then recently, they interviewed his daughter, because now it's 50 years since that, and she said the same thing. She said, yeah, I say to you now, it's 150 years and the Negro still ain't free. Only thing is, we don't go by the Negro. Now, that's another thing, let you know we lost. We keep changing names. 1 minute we Negro, 1 minute we colored, 1 minute we black. How are we going to keep switching? The Italian always been the Italian, brother, sister. Ethiopian, other black people, they've been the Ethiopian. How you going to be Negro, colored? Now we offended if somebody call you a Negro. You get mad. You call me a Negro. But that's what you went by. And we still got the NAACP. Well, that's not for Negro. That's for colored. You really get offended at colored. You let a Gentile call a brother colored. That colored guy. You'll be mad. But that's what your people went by. We keep switching because those are nicknames because we don't know who we are. Again, the title of the lesson is The Lost Sheep of Israel, the Awakening. So he said, verse 9, they that escaped of you, because he's going to say something that's not going to get killed, that's going to survive all of this drama, shall remember me among the nations, where they shall be carried captives. Because what?
Because I am broken with their whorish heart.
Whorish heart. See, that's this false worship. God said, I'm broken with their whorish heart. Go ahead.
Which have departed from me. And with their eyes, which go a-whoring after their idols.
See, God hate that. That's why putting a tree in your house ain't good. Why would you do something you don't even know what it's for? Somebody told you it was about Jesus' birthday, but that ain't it. Go ahead. And
they shall loathe themselves from the evils which they have committed in their abomination.
See, that's what you learn to do when you find out about God. You say, oh, boy, we've been filthy. And you should loathe yourself for all that you done. And as a people, that's what we need to do. To realize we didn't win against God. Go ahead.
And they shall know that I am the Lord, and that I have not said in vain that I would do this evil unto them.
See, he hadn't. He done it. But now go to Isaiah 44. Isaiah 44. Isaiah 44, we're going to pick it up at 1. So he said we're going to remember him, though. In other words, you're going to start to wake up. Say, oh, okay, this happened for a reason. 44 and 1. Go ahead.
Yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant in Israel, whom I have chosen.
Still about Israel. Jacob and Israel is one and the same. Jacob's name got changed to Israel. That's how the nation started. Go ahead.
Thus says the Lord that made thee and formed thee from the womb, which will help thee. Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and thou Jeshurun, whom I have chosen. For I will pour water upon him in his thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground.
Go ahead.
I will pour my spirit upon the seed, and my blessing upon thine offspring.
See, this is the awakening now. That's why we figuring out all over again who we are and what we supposed to be doing. This ain't no accident. He said here, don't fear. Thus said the Lord that made you and formed you from the womb. See, all this information is geared toward Israel, and we're going to let somebody tell us Israel don't matter to God. And it's you. Thus said the Lord that made thee and formed thee from the womb, which will help thee. Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and thou Jeshurun, whom I have chosen. Another name for Israel. I will pour water upon him that is thirsty. Remember, we read in Isaiah, the 5th chapter earlier. Verse 13, my people are going into captivity for lack of knowledge. And their honorable men are famished, and their multitude is dried up with thirst, right? That's right. What that mean? That mean dried up with lack of knowledge. You dead. You lost. You don't know who you are. You need to be awakened. Something need to happen in you to wake you up. Well, the Lord is doing it. He said, I will pour water upon him that is thirsty. We ain't talking about no literal water. We're talking about spiritual water. Give you some knowledge, some meat on your head, some information. Pour water upon him that is thirsty and floods upon the dry ground. And then he told you, I will pour my spirit upon thy seed and my blessing on your offspring. And then what's going to happen? And this is what's starting to happen a little bit right now. Go ahead.
And they shall spring up as among the grass, as willows by the water course. Oh, shall I say,
One shall say.
One shall say, I am the Lord.
One gonna say, I'm the Lord. When you get that water, you start realizing what's going on and who you belong to. Remember, you've been scattered out in the bondage. You've been a lost people. You've been in captivity. And we've been having a zeal of God. We got church all over the place, but not according to what's written. One shall say, I am the Lord's, and another shall call what?
Shall call himself by the name of Jacob. And another shall subscribe with his hands unto the Lord and surname himself by the name of Israel.
See, that means you waking up. You realizing who you are. And that you've been led away as scattered into captivity because God allowed it for disobedience. God allowed it. But now, before we go to Deuteronomy 30, since I told you we're going to read this, flip over to a little farther down to verse 15. No, I'm sorry. Matter of fact, let's start at 14. Skip down to verse 14. Because since we here, and we threw that tree in there, how the Lord said, don't follow that. Don't follow the custom of the heathen. One, get a tree, cut it out the forest, deck it with silver and gold. Don't do that. Verse 14, go ahead.
He heweth him down cedars, and taketh the cypress and the oak, which he strengthened for himself among the trees of the forest.
See, that's trees. He take down trees. This what man been doing, and they got you doing it, telling you it's Jesus' birthday. They done fooled you. It ain't Jesus' birthday. You got a false god in your house, don't even know it. God hate that. That's the first commandment. Don't have no gods before him. You can put a tree in your house like it's special. Heck, you got a tree in your house for? Go ahead.
He planteth an ash, and the rain doth nourish it. Then shall it be for a man to burn, for he will take thereof and warm himself. Yea, he kindleth it. He baketh bread. Yea, he maketh a god and worship it. He maketh it as it a graven image and falleth down thereto.
See, he talking about the tree, brother and sister, because you use tree for all kind of stuff. You use trees for baking, for burning wood, for killing a fire. So he said then, verse 15, he said, then shall it be, talking about this tree, for a man to burn, for he would take thereof and warm himself. You kindle a fire to warm yourself with the wood. Yea, he kindled it and baketh bread. Yea, he maketh a god. Then you're going to take the same tree and make a god out of it and worship it. Make a graven image and fall down to it. People say, oh, I put the tree up. I don't really worship it, though. And they got songs and everything. Oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree. Go ahead, 16.
He burneth part thereof in the fire. With part thereof he eateth flesh. He roasteth roast, and is satisfied. Yea, he warmeth himself and said, I am warm. I have seen the fire.
Go ahead.
And the residue thereof he maketh a god, even his graven image.
Go ahead.
He falleth down unto it and worship it, and prayeth unto it, and saith, deliver me, for thou art my God.
See, people really believe in this Christmas tree too. They really think that's something they got to do. Even though they might not literally just get down and pray to it, but you done went through all this trouble for what? Verse 18.
They have not known nor understood, for he hath shut their eyes, that they cannot see, and their hearts, they that cannot understand. And none considered it his heart, neither is there knowledge nor understanding to say, I have burned part of it in the fire.
He said, you need to think about it. He said, none don't consider and don't have, there go that knowledge again, don't have no knowledge nor understanding, just to say to yourself, look, why do I got a tree in my house every year at this time? Or like he said here, you won't say, I have burned part of the tree in the fire. I use it to burn stuff. You go ahead.
Yea, also I have baked bread upon the coals thereof. I have roasted flesh and eaten it. And shall I make the residue thereof an abomination? Shall I fall down to the stock of a tree?
See? And you say, people say, I ain't on it. Well, you're going through a lot of trouble not to be on it. You going out, you getting decorations and everything, spending money. Got to spend money to get the tree. Got to drag that sucker home some kind of way. Give me help with my tree. Like that really means something. You don't know why you're going through all that. But you see here, they was worshiping trees. So they got you going through the same formality. You don't even know it. He says, shall I fall down to the stock of a tree? Now somebody say, well, I don't really fall down. I bet you fall down when you get them gifts from under there. See, they done tricked you. But now go to where we at, Deuteronomy 30. That show you when you don't have no knowledge, you will do the darndest things and don't know why. And that's what happened to Israel. Israel became lost sheep. Deuteronomy 30, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. But he told us in Ezekiel, they're going to remember me among far countries. And he said in Isaiah, he's going to pour water upon the thirsty ground. And all of a sudden, they're going to start to spring up. Well, that's in these countries where we at. That's where it's starting at. Deuteronomy 30, he's going to tell you again. 30 and 1. Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessings and the curse, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither the Lord thy God have driven thee, and shalt return unto the Lord thy God, and shalt obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day.
Okay, go ahead.
Thou and thy children, with all thine heart, and with all thy soul.
Now again, this is where we at. He said, it shall come to pass. He's telling you the future way in advance. When all this stuff that happened to you, because he prophesied that Israel would be blessed for a moment when they went into the promised land when Moses took them in. And then he told them about curses in Deuteronomy 28. But now at the end of it, we're at the end of the curse now. He said, when all this has come upon you, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt do what at the end of verse 1? Thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations. See, this is the awakening here. We waking up. You still scattered out in the bondage. You've been scattered out among the nations. You no longer in the promised land. You've been scattered out, and all of a sudden you're going to realize, oh, that's why this happened. Oh, that's why I'm the N word. You know, you ain't supposed to say it. Nigga. That's why I'm there. You start to wake up. See, everything got to be for a reason, brother and sister. You start to wake up. He said, you're going to call it to mind among all the nations whither the Lord thy God have driven you. Because again, all these, I told you, Negro, Afro-American, all them is nothing but nicknames, bywords he told you about in Deuteronomy 28 under the curse. Now you waking up among these nations where the Lord driven you, and your job is to do what again at verse 2?
And thou shalt return unto the Lord thy God, and shalt obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day.
See, and that's what we doing. We getting away from the false worship. You know, the Sabbath day in the Bible said the seventh day. So practically everybody in here except the younger people went to church on the first day. But we say the Bible said the seventh day, we need to do that. The Bible says celebrate the Passover, and we celebrate the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The Bible said do that. We doing that instead of Christmas and Easter. So we learning to return to the Lord God and obey his voice according to what's written in the Bible, what he commanded. Who?
Thou and thy children,
you
with
and your
all
children,
thine heart, and with all thy soul, that then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity.
Now you're still in captivity when it start happening, when you start awakening. Remember, this is important because Jesus was fishing for the lost sheep. That's the only people he was concerned with. And believe it or not, this is still Jesus working. Telling you about this. He's going to be the one that finishes it in the end. He said that then the Lord thy God will turn your captivity. You still in captivity, and do what?
And have compassion upon thee.
And have compassion upon you. Go ahead.
And will return and gather thee from all the nation whither the Lord thy God hath scattered thee.
He going to get you from these places where he scattered you. Remember James said the 12 tribes where? Scattered abroad. He ain't forgot about you though. He going to wake you up, and that's what's going on right now, and he going to bring you back. But we got a lot more work to do. This is only the tip of the iceberg, brothers and sisters. This is just the beginning. Because Israel is scattered all over. Then multitudes of other nations going to start to learn exactly what we're talking about right here. But go ahead, verse 4.
If any of thine be driven out unto the uttermost parts of heaven.
See, obviously talking about the earth, but the earth is called heaven too. Because you ain't lost up. Ain't nobody lost up in heaven, outmost part. Oh, they lost up in heaven. No, he talking heaven on the earth. Because it's going to be heaven on the earth before it's done. If any of thine be driven out to the outmost parts of heaven, the Lord said what?
From this will the Lord thy God gather thee, and from this will he fetch thee.
So he going to gather you from wherever you scattered at, and we scattered all over. Now keep your finger here. We're going to come right back. Go to Matthew 24. Let's see who this is going to gather Israel. It's none other than Jesus. The same one that said he was only sent to the lost sheep of Israel. You think he done forgot and gave up on Israel? Don't let nobody tell you Israel don't matter to Jesus. That's a big lie. I'm here to tell you. But again, the Lord told you to beware of false prophets. Jesus said with his own mouth, he was only sent to the lost sheep of Israel. And you going to let somebody tell you Israel don't matter to him? You contradicting him. That woman who he called a dog was smart enough not to contradict him. She said, hey, Lord, whatever, however you got it, it's cool with me. Just don't the dogs get some crumbs, though? Let me get a couple of crumbs. And Jesus did it for her, didn't he? 24 and 29. Matthew 24 and 29. Go ahead.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light.
Now, we at the end of the world, brothers and sisters. This is how the world going to end. The Lord going to slap the moon, the sun and the moon out the way, and the sky going to roll back, and he coming down here to take over. Not take you to heaven, take over down here. Thy kingdom come, he told you to pray for. But it's going to happen immediately after the tribulation. The sun going to get darkened and the moon not going to give her light. And what?
And the stars shall fall from heaven. And the powers of heaven shall be shaken.
Everything going to get shaken up in the sky. And then what? What you going to see?
And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven.
Here come Jesus, and there's no secret about it. Because every eye going to see him, it said. It ain't a secret rapture, but go ahead.
And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn.
Everybody shook up. Go ahead.
And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
Now here come Jesus. Now what's on his agenda? What we just read in Deuteronomy is on his agenda because he ain't done with the lost sheep. He got to save the lost sheep. He done woke them up so he can bring them home now. 31. Let's see what he going to do.
And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. And they shall gather together his elect from the four winds.
His elect is chosen people. His elect from the four winds. You know what the four winds mean? East, west, north, and south. We scattered all over like we've been reading. He going to gather his elect from the four winds. From what?
From one end of heaven to the other.
See, he called it heaven too, didn't he?
That's right.
But he gathering. That's exactly what he said in Deuteronomy. He said, if any of you, well, let's go back and read it. Deuteronomy 30. He said he going to gather them from the four winds. You can read Isaiah 11 on your own. He told you he going to gather Israel in Isaiah 11. He said from the four corners of the earth. That's what the four winds are. The four corners. He got to bring us back because he already saved a remnant for that purpose. That's why Jesus just said, that was Jesus talking. Said he going to send a trumpet. He going to gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Verse 4 again, Deuteronomy 30 and 4. Because let's see where he take them when he got it. Because we think it's about going to heaven. Look, it's about the earth, brothers and sisters. Everything is about the earth. Go ahead.
If any of thine be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will the Lord thy God gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee.
Then Jesus just said he going to gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. This is it. This is when he doing it. What we was reading in Matthew is when he doing it. When he make his second coming, that's at the head of his list. Why wouldn't it be at his list when he said in the first place he was only sent to the lost sheep? You think he going to forget about the lost sheep later? No, he got to fix the lost sheep. The lost sheep ain't been fixed yet. And where he taking you to? Verse 5.
And the Lord thy God will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed.
He taking you into the same land your forefathers had, where you done got kicked out and scattered abroad from. He taking you back home. Thank God Israel got a home like everybody else. See, let us tell it we ain't got no home except Mississippi. We don't know nothing about no home. I'm telling you, if they pass a law saying everybody go back to their original homeland, we'll be sitting there looking stupid. Where you going? I know he got some people down south. We ain't got no original homeland. Even the Mexicans say, look, I'm finna go across the border. The Italian gonna go to Italy. The Japanese gonna go to Japan. The Polish person gonna go to Poland. The Egyptian gonna go to Egypt. The Ethiopian gonna go to Ethiopia. And the black man gonna go to Blackula. But now he said, verse 5, this is when you're gonna find out. Go ahead.
And thou shalt possess it.
Verse 5. Start at the top.
And the Lord thy God will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed.
He's going to take you to that land, brothers and sisters, which your fathers possessed. Go ahead.
And thou shalt possess it.
And now you're going to possess it. Go ahead.
And he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers.
Above your father. Go ahead.
And the Lord thy God will circumcise thine heart and the heart of thy seed, to love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live.
Go ahead.
And the Lord thy God will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee.
Go ahead.
And thou shalt return and obey the voice of the Lord, and do all his commandments, which I command thee this day.
See, you're going to obey the Lord, because that's a good thing to do. Now, go to Amos 9, and we're going to wrap it up. Amos 9. And we're going to wrap it up. Amos 9, and we're going to pick it up at verse 8. See, this is why he saved a remnant, though. He had to save a remnant to bring us back from this scattering. He saved a remnant so he can wake us, remind us, even though we've been lost a long time. Amos 9, and pick it up at verse 8. Amos 9 and 8. Go ahead.
Behold, the eyes of the Lord are upon the sinful kingdom.
See, we just rehashing now. This when he was mad with us. We was a kingdom at once. We was a sinful king. We made God mad. That's why he done all this to us. Ain't no accident. That's why we got more drive-bys than anybody. There ain't no accident. Man can't control that and make it like that. God run it. If there's a God, he control everything. So he said, the eyes of the Lord are upon the sinful kingdom, and what?
And I will destroy it from off the face of the earth.
He said, I will destroy this kingdom from off the face of the earth. That's what we got wiped out as being a kingdom. We're not a kingdom no more. We don't even know who we are. He said, I will destroy it from off the face of the earth, but he going to leave a little room for the awakening. We lost, but it's room for us to come back. I would destroy from off the face of the earth, but what?
Saving.
That means accept. Like, I'm still not going to do it all. Go ahead.
Saving that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith the Lord.
What do he mean by that? He said, I'm going to destroy it from off the face of the earth. Saving, I will not utterly destroy. In other words, I'm going to destroy you for all practical purposes. You're going to be nothing when I get through with you, but you still going to be there. I ain't going to wipe you out where you disappear. But I'm going to break you down so tough, you're going to be destroyed. You ain't going to be a people no more. That's why we don't know who we are. We destroyed as a people. God have destroyed this people. You don't even know that. That's why we kill each other easily. He destroyed us, which, like he said here, I would destroy it off the face of the earth, saving. I would not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, because he got to save some to do what we just read. Go ahead, verse 9.
For lo, I will command, and I will shift the house of Israel among all nations.
See, that's where we at. He said, I'm going to send you out among all nations. Go ahead.
Like as corn is shifted in a sheaf, yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth.
He said, everybody got to go. I ain't going to leave none behind. Y'all going out into captivity. Verse 10.
All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say, the evil shall not overtake, nor prevent us.
See, some people is kicking. God wouldn't do that to us, and he done it. People always kick against when God say he's going to do bad stuff. No, God don't do that. Look, he do it, brothers and sisters. Believe the Bible. But verse 11, now in the end, what?
In that day will I rise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof. And I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old.
He gonna fix it. That's why he taking us back to that land. Go ahead.
That they may possess the remnant of Edom, and all the heathen which are called by my name, saith the Lord, that doeth this.
See, all the other people that got some sense, they gonna listen to the Lord. They're going to start to listen to the Lord and be called by his name, but Israel going to run it. That's why he said they're going to possess the remnant of Edom. Go ahead, verse 13.
Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper.
That's right. Go ahead.
And the treader of grapes, him that soweth seed.
Go ahead.
And the mountains shall drop sweet wine, and all the hills shall melt.
See, because he's going to wake his people up and bring us home. Verse 14.
And I will bring again the captivity of my people of Israel.
Whenever he say bring again the captivity, he don't mean put you in captivity again. He mean bring you home again from captivity. You went out in captivity, I'm going to bring that captivity back. I'm going to bring you again, bring you home. I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel. And what they going to do?
And they shall build the waste cities.
See, you're going to build the waste cities because he took you home. Go ahead.
And inhabit them. And they shall plant vineyards and drink the wine thereof. They shall also make gardens and eat the fruit of them.
It's going to be good. Go ahead.
And I will plant them upon their land.
Oh, you got a land too. Go ahead.
And they shall no more be pulled up out of their land, which I have given them, saith the Lord thy God.
Okay, Jeremiah 30. Jeremiah 30. Jeremiah 30, and we're going to pick it up at 17. Jeremiah 30 and verse 17. See, the Lord had this plan from day one. That's why Jesus was on a mission to recover the lost sheep of Israel. He said he was only sent to them. Jeremiah 30 and 17, go ahead.
For I will restore health unto thee.
See, he's still talking about Israel. I'm going to restore health. We need some health. I will restore health unto thee. Go ahead.
And I will heal thee of thy wounds, saith the Lord. Because they call thee outcast, saying, this is Zion, whom no man seeketh out.
Go ahead.
Thus says the Lord, behold, I will bring again the captivity of Jacob tents.
See, say the same thing. I'm going to bring you home from captivity. I will bring again the captivity. Jacob is Israel. The captivity of Jacob's tents. Go ahead.
And have mercy on his dwelling places. The city shall be built upon her own heap.
Go ahead.
And the palace shall remain after the manner thereof.
Go ahead.
And out of them shall proceed thanksgiving, and the voice of them that make merry.
Go ahead.
And I will multiply them, and they shall not be few.
Go ahead.
I will also glorify them, and they shall not be small.
See, you ain't going to be the minority. He said, I will multiply them, they shall not be few. See, we waking up now while we still in captivity. That's why we still, just like they was in slavery in Egypt, they was having babies like 40 going north. Pharaoh said, these people had too many babies. He started trying to hurt them. But in the end, that's what's going to happen. He said, they're going to not be few. I will glorify them. They shall not be small. Verse 20.
Their children also shall be as aforetime, and their congregation shall be established before me, and I will punish all that oppress them.
Go ahead.
And their nobles shall be of themselves, and their governor shall proceed the midst of them.
See, Israel gonna run it, and we gonna run ourselves. Right now, we don't run nobody, but we don't run nothing but our mouth. He said that nobles shall be of themselves, and their governors shall proceed from the midst of them. Go ahead.
And I will cause him to draw near, and he shall approach unto me. For who is this that engaged his heart to approach unto me, saith the Lord.
Okay, that's good. Go to Isaiah 10, and we're almost done. We got a couple of more. Isaiah 10. But he saved Israel for this purpose, to wake them up. This is all over the Bible. We're going to get back to the New Testament. See, it didn't change in the New. It ain't like he said in the New Testament, you done away with. No, this is the awakening. He saved us for this purpose. Jesus is after the lost sheep. Isaiah 10, and we will pick it up at verse 20. Isaiah 10 and verse 20. Isaiah 10 and 20, go ahead.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel.
Notice he keeps saying the remnant. The remnant of Israel. The remnant of Israel. And go ahead.
And such as are escaped of the house of Jacob.
See, we escaped. In other words, hey, we had to escape to be here today. Israel done been getting killed, like it going out of style, getting hung on trees, all kind of drama, taking on slave ships, but he still saved some. That's here to this day. So that's the only way it could be a remnant. He said, and it shall come to pass in that day, the remnant of Israel, such as are escaped of the house of Jacob. See, we paving way for that now. Go ahead.
Shall no more again say upon him that smote them.
See, they not going to stay upon him or rely upon him that smote him. See, we try to get some help from the one hitting you upside the head. Well, let's march on Washington and try to get some help from him. Look, your problem is the Lord. The Lord put you in the predicament. You got to seek the Lord. Ain't no need in marching on Washington to go to the one slapping you upside the head. When the Lord control him, you seek the Lord can make him do what he wants, whatever need to be done. That's why he's saying they shall no more stay upon him that smote them. Go ahead.
But shall stay upon the Lord, the Holy One of Israel in truth.
See, you're going to trust in the Lord, in other words. You're going to look to the Lord for your help and your redemption. Go ahead.
The remnant shall return, even the remnant of Jacob unto the mighty God.
Oh, the remnant going to return, the remnant of Jacob, which is Israel, unto who? The mighty God. Go ahead.
For though thou people Israel be as the sand of the sea.
See, we were as the sand of the sea, yet what?
Yet a remnant of them shall return.
A remnant, that's a remainder. That means it ain't all of them, just a remainder. Go ahead.
The consumption decree shall overflow with righteousness.
Okay, now go to Romans 11, and Paul told you about this. He told the Romans about this, and he even told, because at this time, the Romans, the Gentiles, were able to come into the fold. So they was hearing the word. But they still needed to understand, just like Gentiles need to understand today, that Israel is still the key to the whole thing. Israel is still the key. That's why Paul was telling these Romans that. And he wanted to make sure the Romans didn't get beside themselves and think, because Israel, we such a lost, messed up people, it'll make other people look, well, how they going to lead somebody? How they going to do anything? They can't do nothing. I need to just do it myself. No, he was letting them know. No, God's still using Israel. Romans 11 and 1. Go ahead.
I say then, have God cast away his people?
See, this was always being tossed around. God's people been done away with. He did away with Israel. We don't need Israel no more. We just run. That's why you got the Pope in Rome. They say, look, they can run the church now. And they admittedly say, look, the church is in the hand of the Gentile. The church has never been given in the hand of the Gentiles by God. The church still is God's people, Israel. He never did away with Israel. That's why Jesus kept saying, I'm only sent to the lost sheep. He said, I say then, and we don't understand how the Pope and all that play into this. We think this stuff just happened to be like it is by chance. Look, either the way it's set up in the world is right or it's wrong. You don't see the Pope claiming to be Israel. And Jesus said he was only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So where he come from? That lets you know they didn't mixed it up. They didn't took it over and said, no, it transferred to us. He can't show me that in the Bible. This is what Paul getting ready to tell the Gentiles. Don't get beside yourself. And that's exactly what they did. Even the ones in Rome, and he talking to the Romans, right? Where the Pope is at. He said, I say then, have God cast away his people? Now, that's what people tell you to this day. What's the answer?
God forbid.
God forbid. We talking about Israel, by the way. He going to tell you. Go ahead.
For I also am an Israelite.
Now, Paul said, wait a minute. How you going to run around and be talking about God cast away his people, and I'm an Israelite preaching to you? That's what he had to tell the Romans. He said, I'm an Israelite. Go ahead.
Of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin.
See, Paul knew what tribe he was from. You got some brothers know they Israel now running around telling them they know what tribe. You a lie. How you know what tribe you from and you scattered in slavery? You don't know what tribe you're from. They didn't send you out in an orderly fashion. When they sent people into slavery, they stripped families apart. They didn't keep nobody intact. But anyway, Paul knew what tribe he was from. He said, I'm of the tribe of Benjamin. He knew who he was back here. But he let it be known God hadn't done away with Israel. Verse 2.
God have not cast away his people, which he foreknew.
Go ahead.
Wote ye not what the scripture said of Elias, how he maketh intercessions to God against Israel, saying, Lord, they have killed thy prophets and dig down thine altars, and I am left alone, and they seek my life.
Go ahead.
But what says the answer of God unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal.
So the moral of the story is Paul is saying, look, when it looked like Israel is no more and they ain't got hardly nobody left, God always got them some. He got them some waiting in the wings. Elijah thought he was by himself in the old days, and the Lord told him, I got 7,000. Elijah, you just don't see them. They ain't going for the foolishness either. Notice he said they have not bowed the knee to Baal. They ain't worshiping that false god. So what? Verse 5.
Even so then, at this present time also, there is a remnant according to the election of grace.
Haven't we been reading about that remnant? Paul knew about the remnant too. And we can say the same thing. At this present time is a remnant, because the remnant still got to be here, brothers and sisters. A remnant that God has elected according to grace. We didn't earn it. We didn't do nothing to be worthy of it, but it's by God's grace and mercy. Go ahead, verse 6.
And if by grace, then is it no more of works?
Right, we didn't do nothing to be left. You know, you could have been wiped out. Your lineage could have been wiped out by now, but go ahead.
Otherwise, grace is no more grace. But it is be of works, then it is no more grace. Otherwise, work is no more work.
Right, go ahead.
What then? Israel have not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election have obtained it, and the rest were blinded.
See, Israel is still blind. Paul is stressing this because Israel was messed up. So he had to let the Gentiles know, even though Israel partially messed up, it's still some. Don't get beside yourself. God still got some, because God going to still redeem Israel. He's still going to awaken his lost sheep. Paul is telling us he's going to awaken his lost sheep. Don't think Israel done away with. And that's what we think nowadays, what he's stressing against here. Go ahead.
According as it is written, God hath given them the spirit of slumber.
See, right now we got the spirit of slumber. That's why I told you, we read where he said we got a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. That means we up in church still sleep. We up in all our churches still don't have a clue spiritually right now, but we waking up slowly but surely. He said God have given them the spirit of slumber. Go ahead.
Eyes that they should not see.
Go ahead.
And ears that they should not hear.
That's like we was dealing with yesterday. That's why we a minority of people observing what the Bible say observe. Yesterday was the memorial of the blowing of the trumpets. Go ahead.
Unto this day. And David said, let their table be made a snare and a trap and a stumbling block and recompense unto them.
Go ahead.
Let their eyes be darkened, that they may not see.
See, this is Israel. We messed up right now as a whole. Go ahead.
And bow down their back away. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid. But rather, through their fall, salvation is come unto the Gentiles, for to provoke them to jealousy.
See, now he said, look, when Israel failed, that opened the door when Jesus came. He came to save Israel, but he opened the door for salvation to the Gentiles too, because the Gentiles was hearing it at this time. And Israel always been jealous when other people start dealing with it. But now skip to verse 18, and we're going to come back and pick this up. But go to verse 18, because I want to throw this in first, because he's talking to the Romans, the Gentiles, telling them Israel's predicament, but letting them know God ain't done with Israel. God haven't cast Israel away. That's what he's telling them. And he's going to tell the Gentiles what at verse 18? What?
Boast not against the branches.
Now he's telling the Gentiles, the Romans, look, don't boast against the branches. Even though Israel don't look good at this time and we jacked up, don't boast against the branches. Why?
But if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee.
He said, if you boast, you don't bear the root. The root bear you. You a part of the root. Go ahead.
Thou wilt say then, the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in.
See, so he asked a question from the Gentile perspective. He said, the Gentile might say, well, really, see, the branches got broken off to make room so I can get grafted in. He going to tell them, look, don't even think that, don't even get puffed up and think that way. It ain't about you. This is what he going to tell them. No, the branches wasn't broken off so you can get grafted in. Why the branches get broken off?
Well, because of unbelief, they was broken off.
Hey, just because we didn't believe, that's why we got broke off. Because we didn't do what we were supposed to do. We didn't believe. Go ahead.
And thou standest by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear.
And you stand by faith, be not high-minded. Don't get high-minded, but you fear. Go ahead.
For if God spared not the natural branches.
That's Israel, the natural branches.
Take heed, lest he also spare not thee.
Go ahead.
Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of God on them which fall, severity, but toward thee goodness, if thou continue in his goodness, otherwise thou also shalt be cut off.
So he talking to the Romans, he said, look, notice the goodness and severity of God. On Israel who fell, when we messed up, God punished us. We've been reading that. He kicked us out. That was severity. But toward thee goodness, but you still got to continue it if thou continue in his goodness. Otherwise thou shalt be cut off. And that's what the Gentiles did. They went the wrong way, especially the Romans. But now read a little further.
And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in, for God is able to graft them in again.
See, he said, if Israel don't abide in unbelief, they can come back. God is able to graft them in again. Go ahead.
For if thou wert cut off of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree?
So he's telling the Gentiles, if you came out of nowhere and grafted a wild olive tree, grafted into Israel's tree, then if you can do that, of course, Israel can come back. So don't write Israel off. This is really what he's stressing to the Gentile. But now back up to verse 12, because we're going to pick it back up when he had told them the salvation that even came to the Gentiles. Verse 12, go ahead.
Now if the fall of them be the riches of the world.
Now he's talking about Israel, because Israel failed, but when Israel failed, the Lord opened the door for the Gentiles later. Again, it was Israel failed because of their own shortcomings. And it was time for the Gentiles to hear it after Jesus came and left. Because Jesus didn't preach to the Gentiles. Jesus preached to the lost sheep, but he sent Paul to the Gentiles. He said, now if the fall of Israel, that's what he's talking about, be the riches of the world. In other words, if when Israel fell, the world got rich out of that transaction, what? And what else?
And the diminishing of them, the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness?
How much more? What he trying to say, brothers and sisters, is when Israel awaken and come back to where they supposed to be at, it's really going to be a blessing for the Gentiles and other people. Because you got a little blessing when Israel fell off the wagon. You got a blessing when Israel fell off the wagon. The Lord had to come save Israel and open the door to everybody. You got a blessing out of that. So how much more when they come back to where they supposed to be? That's why I say this lesson is about Israel, but it's good for everybody. Everybody needs to understand it. Now, if the fall of them be the riches of the world, and if the diminish of them, talking about Israel, the riches of the Gentiles got rich because when Israel fell off the wagon, how much more their fullness, he going to tell you 13.
For I speak to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles.
That was his job. Go ahead.
I magnify mine office.
Go ahead.
If by any means I may provoke to emulations them which are my flesh, and might save some of them.
He said, my job is to preach to the Gentiles, but I'm still trying to get some of my Israelite brothers, my flesh, and save some of them. Why? 15.
For it is the casting away of them.
If the casting away.
For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, that shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead.
Now he said, for if the casting away of Israel, that's what he's talking about. Israel got cast away for a moment. We got put into slavery. But he wasn't done with it. He kept saying he's going to save a remnant, right? For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world. So God still ended up reconciling the whole world, starting with Israel first. If the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be? Talking about Israel, but life from the dead. Because we've been dead, brothers and sisters. We've been lost sheep a long time. So lost, dead, we need to be awakened. And he's going to do that. Now skip to the end, verse 25, and he's going to break it down. And we got one more. Go ahead.
For I